Why CSKA Moscow, Wings of the Soviets? By David Hirst, February 2007. The Wings of the Soviets is a new book by David Hirst, a former British diplomat who served in the Middle East and Africa. It tells the astonishing story of Russia's first military adventure in Africa in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The book is also an account of the remarkable success of Russian expansionism from this far-flung frontier, in which the Soviet Union built a formidable army, and which led to many wars and a great many people killed. It is also a fascinating chronicle of the Cold War, and a story of how Russian leaders in Russia realized that they had to change course when they were facing the Soviet threat to their world power. A new edition, with new material, is in print in the US from the British Library. In this interview I discuss why Hirst chose to concentrate on a story of Russian expansionism in Africa rather than on the Cold War, and how Russian leaders reacted to Hirst's book, particularly when it became the subject of a US-sponsored campaign in the press. What are the main lessons from this book for us today? Firstly, I think that Hirst and his team of journalists are very much alive to a new age of Cold War geopolitics. We have not seen anything like this kind of Cold War, with a very large, well-funded, sophisticated and aggressive military. As we have seen in the Cold War, it is a great challenge to the Soviet Union to try to deal with a modern army in this era, which is not as large and powerful as it was. In the Cold War, the Soviets were not able to deal with this threat from a military perspective. The Soviet army was very much the dominant force in its region. So it was an important factor in shaping the post-war security situation in its region. But it was not the only factor in shaping the post-war security situation. It is important to look back on the Cold War and ask, how do we deal with a threat from a military perspective? It is important to ask